Did y'all know that Generation Z is reportedly America's least most patriotic generation? According to reports, just 16% of 18 to 25-year-olds said that they were proud to live in the United States. As a university student, I have witnessed indoctrination and brainwashing on my university campus. From required woke courses to university hosted drag queen shows. This has increasingly become a clown world of a university experience. Instead of teaching us why we should appreciate the freedoms and rights that our country provides and respect our flag, we are being taught we should hate America, burn our flag, destroy our history, and embrace ideas that have led to poverty and loss of individual freedom. Communism is not the way. Socialism, yeah, no, not the way. The embrace of Mao's Cultural Revolution, aka his destructive Marxism and communist takeover, led to over 5 million deaths. Some might ask, how did he accomplish his mission to take power and destroy his country? He used young people our age and younger to accomplish his goal. For reference, y'all, I'm 21 years old. He sold them lies, many lies. He promised them that destroying their country would make them powerful as long as they followed him and his little red book, aka the book of lies and evil instructions. They took his lead and they followed him. They tore down statues, erased their history, much of which would never be recovered, destroyed their communities through the destruction of old and the embracing of news, and even did Mao's dirty work, if y'all know what I mean. Is it just me, or does this sound all too familiar? Now we're living in a country where Generation Z and many Americans believe the greatest threat to our country is racism, systematic racism. What else do people say? Sexism. All the isms are apparently now the greatest threat. And here to give our generation a dose of reality is a woman who lived through the Cultural Revolution, a woman who witnessed the results of communism and socialist ideas. Here to give Generation Z a dose of reality is a woman named She Von Fleet. You may have heard of her. She's been everywhere. She's been on the news. She's been to the school boards. She's been featured in Fox News, Newsmax, everywhere in between. She is willing to go to great lengths to save America. Thank you, Jesus. I'm getting a little bit emotional just because, y'all, we are living in a serious time, a pivotal time, a turbulent time in our history. Our nation's very young compared to most. Generation Z needs to wake up. Here to wake us up is Siobhan Fleet. Let's welcome Siobhan Fleet to the Tamera Nealy Show. Can you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your story?
Yes, I was born in China, and I spent my first 26 years in Mao's China, and I lived through the entire 10 years of Cultural Revolution. First as a schoolgirl, and later was sent to the countryside to get re-education. So only after Mao's death, and I was able to go to college, and eventually was able to make my way here to America for graduate study. That was in 1986. And so I've been living in this country longer than before you were born. And I have not, for a long time, I had paid no attention to politics. I thought I escaped communism and I'm in America, I'm safe from communism, and there's nothing to worry about. But gradually, I noticed things that remind me of what I escaped from communism. And it was until 2021 that I decided to really get involved. So I went to my local school board, Loudoun County School Board, and delivered that 1 minute speech. And to my surprise, it went viral. And for many, many Americans, that was first time they heard about such a thing as Chinese Cultural Revolution. It's obvious to me, and it's obvious to many, many people who lived under communism. But to many, many Americans, they have no idea what was really going on, especially for the Gen Z, because they grew up being indoctrinated first in K through 12, and then college, and then everywhere in media. So it's important that I'm so glad you're doing this podcast to educate Gen Z and what's really going on.
For sure. So when I was doing a little bit of research, I learned about what's called a Red Guard. And I'm wondering, were you a Red Guard?
Yeah, I was too young to be a Red Guard. I was only 7 when the Cultural Revolution started. So you have to be, at least 12, 10, 12. 10 is kind of a stretching. So, but I witnessed it. So I saw what they did. And so there are kids around me who are older, who are part of the Red Guards.
Yeah, and just so the audience knows kind of what a Red Guard is, I wrote down some notes here. So basically there was this thing called Red August, right? Are you familiar with that? And it was a series of massacres. Over 10,000 people were killed. Entire families were murdered because of their class. And basically what Mao did, he used China's youth to destroy anyone he saw as opposition. University and school-age children became Red Guards, and they joined this kind of cultish movement, basically, that involved religious-like devotion. And they followed a book called The Little Red Book. Is that right?
Yeah.
The Little Red Book. And basically Mao shut down schools and universities so children could fully devote themselves to the Cultural Revolution. They were tearing down statues. They were very censored because Mao believed in a lot of censorship. He would present himself as an idol, as someone to be worshipped. People would worship him in the mornings when they were at work. They would even sing songs and dance to remember his authority. And so basically, communism was fully taking over China. And at the very same time, we know that there was something called the Great Leap Forward, which 500 million people were forced to work in farms to eliminate private farming, which was considered a capitalist system. So there was a lot happening during this time in history. And it's sad because now college campuses don't teach us about this. Instead, they're teaching us about the dark side of American history. Instead of teaching us how important it is not to fall into communist and Marxism ideology. So I want to show you a video. This video is of a Generation Zer who is kind of detailing what she kind of sees going on in Generation Z's culture. Let's check out this video.
I personally know so many people who have an extremely limited worldview being from America. Our education system struggles with educating American citizens about Westernization, capitalism, and all of those things are the right thing.
Which brings up a question. Are the issues that we face minor in the grand scheme of things? Because while all problems are subjective, do these America-specific issues suggest that these are good problems to have compared to most countries? In 2020, after the death of Floyd, over 90 Confederate monuments were removed, with the final one taken down in Richmond, Virginia. If events from 3 years prior are any indication, not everyone is happy with change. In 2017, white supremacists and neo-Nazi groups gathered in Charlottesville, Virginia to protest the removal of a statue honoring Confederate General and slaveholder Robert E. Lee. And as racist slogans were chanted, things got out of hand quickly after 32-year-old Heather Heyer, a counter-protester, was ran over and killed. So it's clear that while one group seeks to preserve their ideas from the past, another is looking to rectify what they see as past mistakes. And no group is leading that resistance more than Gen Z. But can scrutinizing every aspect of life lead to more problems or solutions?
Do you see a parallel between the Red Guards and Gen Z of America?
Yes, and that's very obvious to me, but probably not all that obvious to every American, but they need to be informed. And let me tell you a little bit more about the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution was Mao's revolution to overthrow his own government. And the goal is to overthrow the CCP. It's his own party. And how crazy was that, right? Why would he do that to his own government, his own party, and his own institutions? Everything. He wanted to overthrow everything, burn everything to the ground, and build back, not better, but in his own image, which is Maoism. It's because the Great Leap Forward that you mentioned earlier, and that was a disastrous campaign. And it's a total failure, but more than that, it caused the Great Famine, that up to 50 million Chinese were starved to death. And so because of that, he was forced to take a back seat, and he lost prestige. He lost his leadership, and so someone else stepped up to run the country. That was the president Liu Shaoqi, and that did not sit well with Mao. So that was 1962, and he decided that he has to do something to take his power back. So remember this, the whole Cultural Revolution was launched for one thing, and then that thing only, that is to take back power. So in order to do that, he was willing to take down everything. And so what was his army? He did not need military. He had a better army, and that is tens of millions of Chinese kids, Chinese young people, from as young as elementary school to college and universities. So they were the ones knew nothing. They knew no real history. They grew up under communism. They were fed nothing but propaganda. So they were not able to do any critical thinking. So they were just do what they were told. And what they were told by Mao, that everything was corrupt. And because there are people within the party want to take us back to capitalism. It's just total lie. And but the young people believed it because they did not know any better. And as I was only 7, but I had no idea what capitalism was, only that it was evil. And whoever want to take us back to capitalism must be destroyed. And who are those people? We're told those people in power. So as young kids or the students, who do you think in their mind, the first thing in their mind were people in power? Those were teachers and school principals. That's what they went after first. So they ousted the teachers and they killed a lot of teachers and principals. And then they were also told, in order to stop the people who want to take us back to capitalism, we have to destroy everything that's old. And it's called destroy the 4 olds. Old idea, old tradition, old custom, old habits, which is another way to say the Chinese culture and Chinese civilization. So everything has to be destroyed. And so they went after something that is obvious, which is what? Statues. They went to temples and churches. They destroy anything that they consider not communist. destroy everything, ban books, burn books, and then change names. And here we know that the people not only took down the so-called Confederate statues in the beginning, and then Trump warned what would stop them from taking down the statue of the founding father, and he was laughed at, and then make fun of. And what happened a few years later? They did exactly that. They took down the founding fathers' principles. They even took down the principles, the statues of Abraham Lincoln, who was supposedly freed the slaves.
Right.
Anything. Yeah, they don't care because they did what the Red Guard did in China to destroy the past. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing. And what do you think the school system strategy is to take over with this Marxist ideology? Because I'm on a college campus. I attend the University of Oklahoma, and they have us take something called the first year experience course. And this course is about teaching you to care about feelings and, woe is me, there's people are marginalized, and it's a me type of course, and feelings, and it's all about exposing the dark side of American history, and America's so racist, and America's so oppressive, and things like that. And I'm just like, if America's so racist, then why is it that you have so many Africans immigrating here? You see people flooding the border like never before illegally. And that's the thing, is I'm like, is America really as racist as they say it is?
Well, this is all about indoctrination. And I told you a little bit about those Red Guards. Like I was, even though I was not part of the Red Guard, but I was part of that generation. And so we were fed lies. We were taught fiction history, never real history. So we're taught that America was a great evil. That people there, the poor people, they live under oppression, and it was a country only for the super rich. 99% of them were oppressed. It's an awful place for the poor to live. And I believed it. Why did I believe it? I have no choice. I did not know anything better. And that's the power of indoctrination. And the same thing is happening here. What you described is decades in the making. It did not start now. It started in the 30s, and it has been going on for almost 100 years in America. And that what they taught is something called critical theory. And I think by now, most people probably in colleges heard about it, because we know critical race theory, and now there are critical queer theory and critical feminist theory, and you can just apply it to just about everything. And what is that about? Is really give you a new worldview and replace the traditional biblical worldview. So you wear that lens and you see everything through a critical eye, not critical thinking, but eyes to criticize everything that you find that is short of being perfection. And so you see, okay, there's inequality. And you see that some people make more, some people make less. You don't ask why that's the case. You never, ask critical questions. You just criticize. You say, okay, someone is has a lot of money, someone doesn't. You don't ask what is causing it. And so you want to fix the problem. And you see the differences between men and women, and you just say that women were oppressed. And it's just, that is the critical theory worldview, which is Marxist. And in a simpler way is that they see everything from the oppressor versus oppressed angle. So if you are less well off than your neighbor, then something's wrong with the system. And so that's what they're taught. And so you can't blame those young people why they hate America so much, because they were indoctrinated just like the Red Guards, and they were taught fictional history, just like the Red Guards in China. And they were taught that somehow slavery was an invention of the white people. More specifically, it's an invention of Americans. And they have no idea that history, slavery is as old as human history. It started in the very beginning, and it took place in every culture, every country. No, they were not taught that. So imperialism and was somehow a white man's invention. They have no idea that imperialism is as old as slavery. And there's all sorts of empire throughout the history. And what they do, they conquer another nation, another country, and then expand and rule over the people. Okay, so, but somehow they all believe that it is uniquely American. So that is the Americans' original sin. American original sin is whiteness. It's all caused by the white people. And the whiteness is not just a race, it's a system. So that's how they were taught. And they believe that everything has to do with the system. That's why it's called systemic racism, right? Institutional racism, structural racism. They don't want to say racism is so and so had hold a belief that somehow other race is inferior. No, they don't want to go there. This is the system. So what's the solution? Revolution. Revolution to overthrow the system, to replace with what? To replace with Marxism, even though they probably would not agree with it, but that's exactly what they're doing. They want to replace it with a utopian vision of Marxism, that everyone will be the same. That's called equity. Equity is like, I should have what you have. And so we're all in the same, we end up in the same place. And to them, the same place is basically measured by success, but they don't tell you that success determined by the individuals. It's really a struggle to destroy individualism. So we become identified as part of a group.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And I want to ask you, what do you think about this diversity push that we're experiencing? Because I know when you gave a talk, you kind of touched on that a little bit. And I want to hear what's your perspective on this diversity is America's greatest strength narrative that's being pushed in today's world.
Always remember the root of that word. It's divide. Okay. Diversity is really, that's what it really is. It's divide. Division is the purpose of diversity. And what they're talking about diversity is what? Is how you look, mostly. The diversity started with race. And so it's a way to divide people and put people in groups. Not just that. And if you're in this group, that's how you should think. If you belong to the BIPOC, right? BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, what is that?
It's called a BIPOC. BIPOC. Okay. Then you're oppressed. You're oppressed. Even if you are Winfrey Oprah, you're oppressed. And even if you are the poorest Black, white in Appalachia, you are oppressor. So that's how they divide people. Why they want to divide people? You say, well, if you want to control people, what you do? You divide. It's the old tactic: divide, conquer, and rule. So, and this is very interesting. What happened to the Asians? Yeah, when I came here, and because in China, my family used to own land, even though all the land was confiscated and the property were confiscated and given to the poor. And but we end up with this label, black class, enemy of the state. And so when I came here, all of a sudden I found myself oppressed, not oppressor anymore. In China, my family were considered oppressor because we used to own stuff. Nowadays,
Interesting.
yeah, I become oppressed because what? Just because my race. Okay, so I said, okay, well, whatever. So I now become oppressed. Not anymore.
Yeah.
As you know, what happened to us? What happened to the Asians? We become now white adjacent. Why? Because we're so successful. We're not supposed to be successful. As oppressed people, you're supposed to be poor, and you're supposed to complain, and you're supposed to hold grievances against the system. But we overcome. We are very successful. So now we no longer belong to the BIPOC. We are now adjacent. We become oppressors. That's how it works. It's never about people. It's always about division. And why they want to divide is always about power. Exactly.
It is. And that's what we're seeing today. And I hope that somebody listening to this, because, you know, a lot of Generation Z doesn't really understand the complexity of this situation. And a lot of them go out and they protest and they join these organizations because they think they're doing something good. They think they're adding value to the country in a meaningful way. But destroying what is good is not adding value.
No, it's not.
We have a beautiful country. We have the U.S. Constitution that has given us so many opportunities, and we have. I mean, if you're an American, you have the ability to come from nothing and go to something. You have the ability to grow into whatever you want to be.
Because our rights are protected, and everybody. Rights is protected, and our rights are not from the government, because growing up China, that's what we believed. Even today, people in China believe that their rights were given by their rulers, by the government. And this is a unique Christian belief and a Christian value, that our rights are not from the government. It's from one source. What is that? You tell me.
God.
From God. From God. So no one can take away. No one. The government has only one job. Its job to protect our rights. And that only happens in America, and it only happens in the West. This is a concept that alien to a lot of people, including Chinese, because that's not in the DNA of Confucianism, and it was never in the DNA of Chinese civilization. Chinese people were never ever free. We're always ruled by our rulers, and we always agree. Yeah, our rulers allow us to do this or allow us to do that, and we're just subjects. And so the American young people were never taught why America is so exceptional, why there's so many people risk their lives try to come to America. And that's one of I'm one of them. Even though I came here legally, it was not easy. And we came here because we believe in this country. And so that is what's missing in the education. Of course, it's deliberate. You know, it's on purpose. It's by design that they want to indoctrinate the future generation of this country to make them hate America. And I think I did ask you this question because I do ask questions of young people who are conservative and who somehow escaped that indoctrination. And you're one shining example. And I believe I asked you that when we met in Oklahoma City, and you and the many other asked gave the answer, and it's all the same across the board: family and church. And that's how people sane like you. It is the family and it's the church that communism want to destroy, and it is clearly indicated, clearly declared, actually, in Communist Manifesto. They want to destroy three things. They want to destroy the private property, and it's happening in today's America. It's happening that they want to seize property of a political enemy, and we know who that is. And also they installed the squatter rights. that you can lose your property because of those insane laws. But the other two are just as important. They want to destroy religion, and they want to destroy specifically Christianity and family. That's how they destroy what? Capitalism. The goal of communism is to defeat capitalism and replace it. So in all this has one purpose. Now we can go back to the system. They want to destroy the system. They want to destroy the structure. They want to destroy the institution. That's why they call this racism is systemic, structural, and institutional. That's what they want to destroy. And that's why it's so important that people like you help to wake up more and more young people, Gen Zs. They have been so brainwashed. They are doing their own, actually they are ruining their own future. And let me tell you a little bit of those what happened to the Red Guards. So the Red Guards you described, and I did add to your description, is really is a group of young people indoctrinated and manipulated to carry out Mao's order to take down the CCP. So they were in it. They thought after they take down all those people in power, hey, they may share power. And that's what they believe. Just like a lot of the young people today, they believe that they are helping to take down this system so that they will be sitting at the table sharing power. No. That's not going to be the case. And that's what the Red Guards thought. But eventually, it took them about 3 years to finish the job that Mao had in mind for them to do. And then what did Mao do? Mao used the military and killed some of them and sent the rest to the re-education camp. And they were sent to the countryside and to some of them to the gulags to be re-educated. And that those people, including me, I was the last group. I was lucky enough to survive it and were able to go to college. But those majority of those people, the Red Guards, they were called the lost generation. By the time the Cultural Revolution was over, by the time they could go back to the city, they were too old for college. They were too old for new job training. They were absolutely lost their future and being used as political pawn and then discarded like garbage. And that is going to happen to the woke army of the indoctrinated youth if they don't learn history, if they don't really understand that they also are used as political pawns.
And so this leads me to a call to action. I want to encourage you guys to read books. She Von Fleet wrote a book, and I want you to tell us about your book so that we can actually go and order that book and learn more about communism and how to fight this around the country.
Yes, thank you so much. And here is my book. It's called Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning. And since I started talking to American people, I was invited in interviews or talking to groups like the one in Oklahoma. And so I did that for about a year, and I realized it's just not enough. I could not explain the whole story in a 40-minute speech there and a 30-minute interview there. So I decided to write a book. So I quit my job. I spent a whole year writing this book. And this book is not really a history book. It is the book about the parallels. So it is easy to read. It's not a heavy history book. What I'm trying to tell in this book is the two cultural revolutions. And I lived through both of them. I lived through one when I was in school in China. I'm living through one with the rest of my fellow Americans. And I'm trying to tell the readers, this is history repeating. It is absolutely the same thing that that happened to me before and happened to us now. And I explain in terms of education, indoctrination, family, and religion, and what to do. And I think this is so important that first we have to understand what's going on in order to really fight back. You can't fight back something you don't understand. This is communist revolution. Woke is communist. It is absolutely the same as the Mao's Cultural Revolution, with the same goal to destroy the system, to replace it with something new. In America, in China, it's Maoism, and here is Maoism with American characteristics, and that's really what's going on. So that's not enough if you understand it, which is what you're doing, trying to reach out to people and educate them, but after you really understand it, you have to help to expose it and try to try to influence, try to educate the people within the circle of influence. We need more and more people wake up, and it's still not enough. We need to get organized and get involved, and that's my fault. I haven't got involved since I came to America, as I told you, because I thought everything would be fine here. What can go wrong in America? But now I'm involved. I'm involved with local organizations, and I'm involved with parents. And I go to school board, even though I don't have children in school anymore. But that's important. We have to start getting involved on campuses. There are so many things that you can do. I'm sure you have conservative organizations on campus. We have to get involved. And remember, politics is always local. Yeah, we have to get involved in the local politics on campuses and take down the Marxist indoctrination, one student at a time. And that's how we do it.
Yes, and I agree with that. And like you said earlier, it's about really, I think what people need to remember is that faith is powerful. It changes things. Hold on to your faith. But also you mentioned family. And so what is your advice to young women, especially, and young men as well, who are thinking that family should be on the back burner, career first, family second? Don't worry about getting kids and all these things. That's the culture we're living in. And it's telling us that we don't need family. We don't need a husband. We don't need all these things. And I disagree. And so what is your advice to those young people who have given up on having families?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely part of their indoctrination, that we are all individuals. We have no ties to the family, and I just saw someone tweet something on X that she was the very first in her family that live independently, alone, and she took that as a achievement. We need our family. We are here because we are part of a family, and
Yes.
career is important. But having family is even more important. I don't know how many people that never had family will be so happy in their late lives and say, yeah, I achieved so much in my career, and yet I don't have family. I don't think we see a lot of happy people like that. And so I think it's part of the indoctrination for young people, especially for young women, to become the work bees of the corporations. And so we have no other important thing than contribute to the corporation, to the business. I think it's dangerous. I think a lot of young women will end up unhappy.
Yes, and I agree. Thank you for your time, Shivan Fleet. This is the final minute of this Tamera Nealy show. Please look into the camera, and if you could tell anyone any advice, whether it be Generation Z, all Americans, the world, what would you say? 1 minute to say whatever you would like.
Well, I think the future of America, the future of the West is in your hands. And I think it's important that you realize it. If you want freedom, not slavery, you need to save America, because communism is slavery.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve Van Fleet.
Thank you.